And welcome back to the Digital Education Station, everyone. I am Ryan Ferran, Chief Communications Officer for the school district, and we are joined, as always, by our Superintendent, Dr. Vannasdall.
Always glad to be here.
Great to have you here. And we talked about personalized learning in our last Digital Education Station. We took the field trip to Rancho High School and out here at the Arcadia Educational Center and saw kind of the new learning space we created out there. Talked about our journey. And then today we're going to talk more about personalized learning. 2 weeks ago we had our Board of Education meeting, which was really a community engagement night where we really collaborated with the community, teachers, students, staff, and talked more about this process and journey for personalized learning. So we'll talk more about that, and we'll also talk about dive into some more of the specifics today about who owns the content when we're using a platform, and then our timeline and journey, how this kind of all came together. So that's what's on tap for today.
All right.
We
Where do you want me
appreciate
to
your
start?
insights. I think we go back to the board meeting
Okay.
a couple weeks ago and just talk about that community engagement piece, what that meeting looked like, and kind of what we went over and the purpose of getting everyone together on this personalized learning journey.
Yeah, thank you. Well, there was a lot of energy. If people weren't available that night to be there, when you bring together parents and teachers and students, the depth of conversation is so rich. And so we've been doing this annually for a number of years now. Last year was on homework.
Yes.
So this was the perfect topic because this is what we're talking about right now. And so the first thing that we learned that night that I want to share is that everyone has a different definition for what personalized learning is. And as I talk, Ryan, I'm going to weave in some answers to some questions I've been hearing as I'm throughout the district, especially on Friday, spending time with staff, if you don't mind. Because one of them was that they saw this infographic that we put out, and people were looking at the timeline, and one of the questions was, I don't remember talking about personalized learning 10 years ago in 2006. And good question, and the answer is it's because over time we have evolved. What attracted me to Arcadia was the reputation for excellence, right? But that reputation was built on a reputation of innovation. And people forget that. So, people all of a sudden say, I really want to be a part of Arcadia and that excellence. They show up, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, why are we changing? Well, change is the consistent. That's what we're always looking ahead 5-10 years. So back in 2006, we didn't even have the language to say personalized learning, right? And at the time, people were doing their best. For example, saying things like, I wish every kid had an IEP, an individualized education plan, because that was the best way they could describe it for themselves. What we do with our students with special needs was, having a group get around them and create their education with them in the middle and then create it out. So it's been a journey of refining, knowing that we want to really personalize, but didn't have the language for it. So, it started way back with Measure I infrastructure going, well, we're going to need technology. So let's put all the cables where we need them during construction. Then it was the Power School. We need a central database for all the data, for assessments, to be able to make good decisions about kids. Again, we weren't using personalized learning. It was like, oh, okay, if the data's on one place, then teachers have access to see specific kids and how they're moving forward. And then it was, well, we want kids to own their learning, right, with technology. So let's get every student a Chromebook so that they can access. I know when I was working on my doctorate, if I didn't like it or exactly fit with the professor, I could, find a YouTube online where someone else is teaching it, another student's teaching it. So it truly gives everyone access. And then we get to a point where we have the language now, we have the technology, it's all in place, and our school board recognized that it's time, and they started writing a direct goal for 2 years now into their goals, which become my goals, of providing a personalized learning environment for every child in a non-traditional classroom setting. We're still kind of figuring out what that means. I think a lot of that is what we're seeing in the beginning of with flexible seating. So this night, our engagement night, was kind of a culminating activity of a lot of years of progress to get to this point where it's like, okay, we have the right culture in place. We've been working on what if and why not, becoming adaptive, flexible. We have the technology in place, and we have a world-class staff. So all the pieces are there. We now need to figure out what it means to us. And that's that confusing part, because some people right away just think personalized learning is putting a student in front of a computer all day and letting the computer provide that instruction. I want to be clear, that is not the path we're going down. I think that's a very dark path for education and for education in America. I'm advocating for a different path, and I think, and we are in Arcadia, and that is, how do you use technology to run in the background and maximize the time, the quality time between a student and a teacher? So it's having the technology in the background, giving teachers better information, how to personalize lessons and assessments for kids, but not providing the teaching. That's what a teacher does, and the teacher's there to, to push students to inquire, to motivate them, to inspire them. But having a better tool belt to do that, that's what we're trying to do. So the beginning of the conversation that night was, what do you think personalized learning is, as a community member, as a teacher, as a student, getting all that out on the table, and then beginning to talk about what do we want in Arcadia. Because what we've done, what the board directed me to do, is go out and find a platform that would operate on our Chromebooks, and on our computer system, that would be a platform for how teachers are going to organize their lessons, how they're going to push out work, how they're going to give students assessments. It's just a platform. It's no different than when the process for picking out which Chromebook are we going to buy, right? We say, what are our needs? We go out and we find the very best product there is. That's what we did, finding AltSchool, which also went to the board that night. And AltSchool is basically a combination of entrepreneurs, engineers, and educators. And they've come together to say, we're no longer going to accept building products out here and pushing them down and asking schools to buy them. We're going to create the product in the classroom with engineers sitting next to teachers. Again, the focus being on teachers, right? That's the priority. And as teachers run into hiccups and they need something, the engineer's right there to write the code and change the platform. So, it's the beginning of that conversation to really get people to see what it's not, and to begin to see the possibility of what it can be, because it's going to be what teachers make of it. Again, it's a platform. It's not a curriculum. It's not the lessons. It's not what the kids. So, we're going to have teachers that are early adopters that are going to be able to right away do some amazing things on this. And then we'll have some teachers that are going to do exactly what they're doing today, but through the platform, right? And then as we move and grow, I think our teachers are going to be able to see the opportunities that are available to them having these tools.
And the purpose of the community engagement is obviously to get everyone's input. As you mentioned, we had PTA parents there, non-PTA parents, we had students, teachers, board members, district staff. So what were some of the takeaways from the input that you received from the night? We did a thought exchange at the end. And so what was kind of the takeaway from your thoughts of what they were thinking?
The first one I'd share is that everyone recognizes that the world of personalization is already here. When you search on Google, it's personalized. What you search and what I search, we get two different results. Our shopping is personalized. Everything around us has already moved in that direction. So the real question is why haven't we moved there in education? Well, that's a good question, and that's why we're talking about it now. Because it's not okay to not use all of this data that's at our fingertips. So that was the first one, is that I was kind of surprised. I was expecting a lot more pushback, where parents going, wait a second, this is going to look very different than when I was in school. For the most part, what I heard was parents saying, why is it taking this long? Or why is it going to be a 4-year implementation instead of like 1 year? Can't we do this next year? My kid's going to be in high school. They're going to lose out on this opportunity. All right, that's a whole other conversation about what we've learned and what we know about implementing good programs in Arcadia. So that was my biggest takeaway.
And one of the questions we got that we want to get into and ask you is, so using this platform, teachers are going to be putting lessons on there, students are going to be putting homework on there, district staff may be putting information on there. So who owns the content? We're partnering with AltSchool, but if we put it on, do we still own it? Do they own it? Is it a mix?
Yeah, real good question. And the answer is very simple. We own our work. We own our students' work. We own our teachers' work. And at any point in the future we separate, that work belongs to us, and we have that work.
Okay, that seemed to definitely concern of people,
and they should
what happened
be.
with that.
I mean, student privacy is I said at the board meeting that we take student data privacy as important as student safety on a campus.
Yeah.
It's a baseline expectation for us, so that's important.
So for more resources, you pointed out to the infographic. Great job by Amber Nuvali creating this. And this is kind of a basic summary sheet. We have a more in-depth 3-page community kind of info sheet that people can go on our website. Just go to AUSD.net, look for personalized learning on the left, and they can go. This is really an in-depth process. It talks about culture of innovation, purpose and partnership. We talk about AltSchool, implementation, the plan of the implementation, budget, and then the platform specifically. So it dives in more. And also on that page, that web page, it has the video of our other personalized learning video and that sort of stuff. And then we're going to do another digital education station next week and get into more specifics about implementation and the timeline for how this is going to roll out over those 3 years that you talked about, and then get more into specific about another one of the thoughts coming out was teacher support, how are they supported, training and all that. So the next one we will dive into all of that.
Transparency during a big implementation like this is vital. So we like to layer the information, meaning that for some people an infograph is like, okay, I get it, this is the big picture. But people that want to go deeper, dive deeper, we go into detail about the whole journey we've been on, what an implementation looks like, and again, we're going to talk more about that in the next episode. So I'm excited, and as people have questions, keep asking them. We'll keep addressing any of the questions that we get along the way.
Dr. Vannasdall, as always, thanks so much for your insights and information on this, and we look forward to next week's Digital Education Station.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Ryan.
Thanks, everybody.